I say hello to the Academy Award-winning director and actor on Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1 in theaters nationwide this very Friday, the great Kevin Costner. Good to see you, sir. How are you? Worthy of applause indeed. Good to see you back here, sir.
Thank you.
Man, what a beautiful, awesome movie you have made, sir.
Thank you. I was like, I wanted to make it. I feel lucky I was able to do it. If everything kind of falls apart in a handbasket, I'm going to know I got that one done.
What do you love about a Western so much?
It's not a land in Disneyland, right? What happened is people made their way across this ocean because there was this promise. If you could get to this land, this place wasn't what you can call America, but if you can get there, it goes forever. And you can own something if you're tough enough, if you're resourceful enough, you're mean enough, and you can hold on to it. It was kind of a promise. Nobody talked about the people who had been here for 15,000 years. But that was the idea of America. If you were strong enough and there wasn't really any law, you could hold on to it. You could make it yours. And if you play that authentically, you realize that the dynamics that happen in everything, just meeting a stranger when there's no law. How do you arbitrate your problems? You have an agent, you have a lawyer, we have the police. There are people that will step in front of us, not that we can't arbitrate our own problems, but do. But back then, and I think it provides for real drama. You're also dealing with people like myself, which is, in a reality, the only possessions this guy had were on his back or on his horse. True. And he made a living.
Well, the number of times as I was watching this film, and again, I highly recommend it to everyone out there, and I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here and I also root for you, is that how did people survive just even the day sometimes? How did they survive bad weather?
It was inches. They weren't equipped. They didn't realize what they were going to run into, and then there was a whole nother people that were going to contest it too. And it wasn't a 10-year thing. It was a 200-year thing, march across this country, and it was done in inches. And it was done on, and each generation was saying, our children are going to have it better. And there was the reality of the people that made their way out there. They also weren't coming back. I mean, when you and I cross the country, it's what, a meal, a movie, and a nap, and then somebody's telling you to put your seatbelt on. And when you said goodbye in the West, it was really a goodbye. And when you got yourself to a place, you weren't going to be able to reverse yourself. People dug in, and so it was relentless. It was hard, and most women worked themselves to death. The women, and that's why I think even though there's an R attached to this movie, I think there's a lot of men and women after they see it are going to say, I think I'd like my son to see this. I think I'd like our daughter, she's 12. I think she could see what her great-great-grandmother maybe went through.
Because the fragility of life, you could feel it throughout this entire film. Whether it's a family just going through a wonderful night under the tent with some folks in the community dancing, and then their whole world gets turned upside down an hour later.
A living hell.
Right.
And who makes it through the night?
But then who can also find humanity in the face of this depravity? And who can find that goodness when, not much is around them good?
And the choice you have to make. I mean, you see a choice a young man makes, and it's to not go with his mother, to go with his father. You almost want to beat him. But then you also find the nobleness in it. And then to watch that child recognize that he made a mistake. It's, they're powerful. And then what's going on below the surface? The mom and dad are, the mother and daughter are taking one breath at a time. And I'll revisit that moment in 4. It's a novel, really. I'm going to work my way back to almost everything you see.
When you're saying 4, you're doing 5 of these? Is that the plan? Well,
there was a 5th one. The first one represents the 5th one. I don't know that I'll ever do it, but that one started in 1988. When did you go to ESPN? When did you start?
I started in 96.
Okay. So in 88, I had this idea for this Western. Couldn't make it. 2003, couldn't make it, And then I had the brainiac idea of making, well, I'll make 4 more. That's like so American. Nobody wants that first one, dude.
Right.
You know, it's like, wake up, Kev. So I did. I thought about it, and I thought what would be different about it. Not different for different sake, but different is, it dawned on me, these movies, even the ones we like, and I don't like that many Westerns, the town's always there. It's always there. And the reality was that we never deal with the moment of, all these towns started with a stake in the ground. They started with, and what was the journey? And there's a lot of drama in that.
Well, I mean, and that's, you know, I'm not spoiling anything because that is the first scene in the movie, is the stake being driven down in the ground, and then the rest of it is just sprawls out. Kevin Costner here on the Rich Eisen Show. So you're saying the idea for Horizon you first had in 1988 is what you're saying?
Yeah, it was. It was a two-hander. It was a traditional. I don't want to call it a Butch and Sundance, but it was 2 guys, alpha male characters. Fun. There was a girl, and it was good. Make no mistake, it was good. But when in 2012, when we began to rethink it with John Baird, we kept as many of those characters, and I just re-engineered them. For instance, in that first, I don't know if the audience is even interested in this crazy stuff I do, but there was one line, subtext. He asked me, what happened in Montana? I said, I had some trouble with some guys.
Yeah.
And so in going back and making these 4,
Yeah.
I got an hour of what that trouble was. And they continue to be trouble. They are a relentless group.
And so, okay, so I'm just trying to figure this out. So in the middle of your remarkable run of Untouchables, No Way Out, Bull Durham, and Field of Dreams, you're coming up with this idea. That's what you're saying.
Still thinking of it.
Okay, and then so Dances with Wolves just was totally separate?
Total separate. It just was just a, no, yeah, I don't know. I don't fall out of love. I'm willing to listen to things. I truly, honestly am. But nobody convinced me. I knew this was good. I knew every scene bugged me as a man or enlightened me. That when a dad says, "Are you ready, son?" I think so, Daddy.
Oh God! That
one. I think only another man can make another man cry. And what happens is, are you just so proud of the moment? Are you just so what? But it's like, whoa.
Because when he's going to go with his father, he's dead, essentially.
Yeah.
That they're going into the face of. Again, I don't want to give too much of this movie away.
And his face starts to quiver. He knows.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, that one got me. There's some great cast in this as well.
Yeah, everybody. It's an acting piece. I mean, really. You think sometimes, I'm not racing to my gunfight. I think some of the things that I do take the place of a gunfight quite well, and women dominate Horizon. Actually, every one of my storylines, women are running right through the middle of it.
Yeah, Sienna Miller, spectacular in this film in particular. Jenna Malone as well. There's some people from previous things that you've done that pop up in this as well. Danny Houston, obviously, from Yellowstone most recently. Will Patton, right? Isn't he?
Will Patton,
He goes back to No Way Out with you?
James Russo, he does No Way Out. The Postman. He's just an actor that bubbles up. I mean, we've seen actors like that in our lifetime. Wayne and Cooper and Stewart, they're not going to act without Walter Brennan. They're just not going to do it without these kind of actors that hand them their performance. These guys are so good. And so I bring them along. I mean, he's playing a very tough role, but yeah.
And it's, again, Horizon and American Saga, Chapter 1. Chapter 2 is in theaters later this summer, August 16th, right away. I mean, you're pretty much certainly
That's a studio thing that I like to kind of do it. I planned it, which was never been done before anyway. It's like every 4 to 6 months, they would come out. I mean, a lot of people, and maybe this is wise too, is like, well, let's see how people like the first one. It's like, I said, I have to make the second one because if that makes the first one make sense. I don't wait. I just go.
Is 3 and 4? Where's 3 and 4 right now?
Well, I've started 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm into 3, and it just gets harder. At 3 really explodes. 3 really goes into another gear.
This is amazing. Kevin Costner here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'll ask this question. Just I have no idea where it was going to go, but is there a similarity between a Western and a sports movie? Do you think?
Well, I think the similarity is not defined as much as there's sports movies, and then somebody like Shelton comes along and redefines a sports movie that doesn't require a win, requires a moment, something that defines us, defines our character. You know, 10 Cup, the greatest 12 in history. You don't win the U.S. Open. Crash doesn't get to the big leagues. I think Westerns have white hats and black hats. So the obligation for me is to come in at these things sideways and see if I can break your heart, see if I can rejuvenate love. It was all happening out there. So every genre is wide open to your approach. And I think the more you are able to move your movie towards behavior, when you have behavior, I think people can relate to you. And that's really what movies require. Then they work in any decade. You can portray any decade if you're going to lean into behavior.
Interesting. Doesn't matter what decade it is, what sport it is.
They were dealing with the same things we were dealing with. And in so many ways, they were trying to raise their families. They were around people that understood that maybe there was no law. And the worst of them came out. If you believe in post-traumatic stress after war, if you believe in that, which we do,
of course,
it's just gotten different names. And we think about Vietnam and Iraq and all that stuff. Think about the Civil War for a second. I think there was 30 million people in the whole country about then. The whole country went to war. So everybody touched everybody. And all those same people that saw war for 4 years, 5 years, a lot of them went west. And so you had men who had seen violence, perpetrated violence. There was a lot of people populating the West that when they looked around and realized that maybe they could just take what they wanted.
Right.
It was a recipe. It was rough.
Kevin Costner here on the Rich Eisen Show. When you just mentioned, Ron Shelton remaking, what a sports movie is. Did he have you at hello? Were you locked in for that?
His script just spoke to me out loud because, you can talk about sports all day long. Say, I love sports, I'm no sports or whatever.
Right.
You have to read it to know, and Ron knew. But then all of a sudden, the beauty about him is like he is who he is. I mean, a true guy. But yeah, he captured the essence of he understood the nobility of hitting a home run in anonymity, just because when you're in the minor leagues, you're not going to brag about your record to a big league player. This guy's never going to do that either. But there was something in him as a sportsman that went, I'm like 3 home runs away from a record. I'm just going to buckle up and go room with an 18-year-old and hit this somewhere.
Did you follow the script word for word, or were there any ad-libbing? No, there's no.
We didn't deal. Listen, I've had about 15 scripts where we didn't mess with a line, and that's about 12 more than most people. Scripts are manipulated. Mine aren't. On Horizon, it's the Bible. But that doesn't mean I hate to make sports analogies, but it doesn't mean I won't call an audible. It doesn't mean I won't see an opportunity on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I actually look for that. It's an edge, which means I'm out on a set. I have this script that I know works, but I'm also leaving a window of opportunity if something presents itself, and I'm going to step through it, and I just do.
Interesting. So there was no ad-libbing on Bull Durham, nothing
really.
like that?
Not really, because it just handed us our performance.
Fascinating. And did you ever try out?
I tried out on purpose.
What do you mean?
I knew that Ron was going to be hit with other actors where agents were going to say, my guy plays, and he doesn't want to try, and he doesn't want an audition. And I wanted Ron to be able to say, well, Kevin did.
And so you did.
Yeah. I'm like a player coach.
Huh. And like get in a cage and show your swing?
Yeah. But I did it on purpose. Number one, to put Ron at ease because he is a player.
Right.
I never pretended to be the athlete that Ron was. I could play a little bit, but I knew that we were going to be hit with this other thing. And if he had that to lean on, then there was just going to be no argument.
Did you hit one out during
I
shootings?
hit 2 out.
2 home runs.
I hit 2 out, and I'd never hit a home run in organized baseball. In all my, I just was never that kind of hitter.
So your first 2 career home runs were as Crash Davis?
I hit 2 out of these minor league parks that aren't very small. They're big because they don't like losing baseballs. Yeah. It was expensive. They really don't. They like bigger fence. But no, it was, we were auditioning all the athletes. We had to make up 4 professional teams. And some of the guys were already in the minor league system.
Yeah.
And everybody was just taking hitting practice. And for some reason, I knew I was going to come up, and God, I was just dodging this because I think I don't want to hit in front of these guys. And it's like, and no, everybody was just, lazy about it, the guys hitting. But I knew when I came to step up, I saw every one of their backs kind of turn to watch. Let's watch the sissy. Let's see what's going to happen here. And I'm thinking, Jesus, I just couldn't believe it. So I go up there, and I was very, very nervous for whatever. I'm 30, I don't know what I am. Anyway.
You're Kevin Costner is who you are. Come on now.
I had that talk in about 3 pitches. The first pitch, I barely hit the ball, and it just kind of dropped down, and I went, wow, Jesus. The second pitch, I hit a line drive to short, which wasn't a line drive. It wouldn't even have bent the grass. It was like a dead ball or something went like this. I mean, the shortstop first moved in, all of a sudden he just like.
No, he's got it.
God, it was just like it was limp. It came down, and I stepped out of the batter's box at that moment, and I went, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you? You're the only one that's got a job that's getting paid. And I stepped back in, and I hit it over about the 365 sign. And nobody had hit one out during that entire thing, and all these guys could hit. But I'd never hit one in my life. And it went out. And one other time later in the thing, I just dropped the bat on one of those things, and it just coasted out of it just went out.
So in principal shooting, did you hit one out like you're actually shooting it, or
no?
Okay.
No, it was all in these practice moves,
Okay. Did you drop the bat and circle the bases? I mean, did you do that? Ken?
No, I know how to pose. I just, I knew if I just stayed in there, everybody go, God, he didn't make a big deal about that, like it happens all the time. And maybe only twice in my life. I should have rolled. I should have rolled around. I should have intimidated the pitcher. I should have taunted him. But I hit some out of the ballparks that I'll work out with teams, so I've gotten it out 3 or 4 times.
Were you concerned of doing Field of Dreams after Bull Durham about being typecast or anything like that?
No, I didn't think that at all. I mean, I didn't realize. I'm kind of like a mongoose playing with the cobra, I think, in my life. It's like I'm not really aware of the danger at all of anything. Mm. It's like, when I cast Whitney, did you know she was African American? Yes, I saw that. Just happened to think she was the cutest girl that could sing. What's wrong with that? I didn't realize it was such a big deal. The baseball thing was, do you know their box office poison? Hadn't really heard that. It's a clever term. Maybe it's because none of them were any good. So I made the one, and then the other one so distinguished itself that I didn't want to ignore it, because sometimes you go out there and you pass up the biggest, most important thing because you think you're looking for something else, and you got to listen to the ticking of your heart. Mm. You have to actually understand that you might be looking for a supermodel, but take a look. The girl serving you at the restaurant's the best looking chick in the place. You have to have your eyes wide open and kind of see it for what it is. It was great. We didn't change a line of Bull Durham. We did not change a line of Field of Dreams. And I will tell you this, we had to get lucky to take Field of Dreams where it went to, because it was so well written, but it was almost goofy. We didn't have a fist fight. We didn't have a car wreck. We were making our way to, do you want to have a catch? Mm. And we had to negotiate this whole thing, and I've told this story before, but I did talk to the director because I thought Robin Williams was going to play that role. I don't know if I told you this story, but I did tell you. Well, then I won't even bother you with it. But there were a lot of things had to happen, and I think him casting me helped the idea of working our way all the way to having a catch.
Oh, it's beautiful. And is it true Jimmy Stewart might have been involved with this film at some point?
No, I never heard that. But I tell you what, when Lancaster was, I got to tell you, I just loved being around him. He's a great actor, and I remember I started talking to him about the Kentuckian where he did, and he goes, "You saw that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You saw that? Let me tell you how I did that." And I said, "Yeah, the scene where you run across. Let me tell you how I did it." He said, "First I ran." He said, "What I did was I went all the way to the end, and then I ran all the way back. And when I understood how quick I was going to have to be in order to load the gun and get there, that's where I started. That's how I do everything." And you saw that. I said, "Yeah, I saw that. I saw that thing with Walter Matthau. Walter Matthau, incredible character actor, but he was a mean son of a bitch in that thing. And I saw that." "You saw that?" "Yeah, I saw that." He goes, "You saw where the whip went under the wagon and the wheel ran over it?" And I said, "Yeah, I saw that." We spent a lot of time talking. And he said, "Me and Stewart, we scared the studios, scared them to death." It was just fun to be around him.
Of course it had to be. I mean, and again, at that part of your career, as it is zooming off a rocket ship, Kevin. I mean, again, to be in a movie with Burt Lancaster as you were, and then in No Way Out of being around Gene Hackman. What was that like? Being around
Well, you know,
him?
you get on these things where people ask you questions about lists. Who's the best this? Who's the best that? You know, and it's, boy, you just don't want to start down that because you've worked with so many really good people.
Sure.
And you know, and they hear that, they go, "What?" But let's get to it. If I had to say the best actor I've worked with, I would say it felt like Gene Hackman. And there was something so real about him. And if you say who's the biggest star, that's pretty easy too.
Who's that?
Sean Connery,
In The
the
Untouchables.
biggest star in the world. So,
Where does De Niro rank with that?
Pardon me?
Where does De Niro rank for that?
well, De Niro is this exotic animal that you just see the menace and the craft and the whole thing that comes in. I mean, that's why you don't make really lists. You know, what you're dealing with is somebody very formidable, and it was just I've been lucky because I have worked with those guys.
I thought he was legitimately going to get you at the end of Untouchables. After you put him away and he needs to be held back, I legitimately thought he was going to actually break out and get you in that scene.
You know, and I'm playing Elliot Ness, this guy that's pretty straight arrow, and he's going, "You're nothing but a talk and a badge," mouth. And he's just like, I was thinking, how do I deal with this? Because he was doing a lot of improv, and Sean goes, "Mr. Nash, come over here," and I said, because he called me Mr. Nash, and he goes, "This is how you handle that," and Sean was just a beautiful guy, man.
Well, how did he tell you how to handle it?
He said, "He's gonna blow you away." No, it was just private. It was just so private. And I'll just keep that between him and I. But he thought enough of me to say, "Look, this is how you can handle this."
I love that. Boy, I can go so many different directions. I've got Kevin Costner here. JFK, Donald Sutherland just passed away. What was that scene with Mr. X on the park bench like?
Well,
Kevin?
We had another really long one too, and that scene never made it in the movie. There was a moment where Oliver needed to get his movie under 3 hours, and there was 10-minute scene with me and Donald, and that just went. And I talked to Oliver about it. I said, "Why can't we go deeper into the movie and take a minute out here and a minute out there and a minute out over there and a minute and hold on to this one?" And I'm sure it killed Oliver to do it, but it was such a clean cut, and it got him to that point. And I know what it's like to just be
Sure.
pressed by studios to get something. And But I got to tell you, you don't have a career like Donald Sutherland unless you're as good as Donald Sutherland. That sounds a little bit odd, but you can't do it as long as him unless you're able to just bubble up every role that's put in front of you. And I remember the first time I saw him was in MASH. I was a teenager, and I thought, wow, this guy was really, really good. And he flourished in our business because he's an actor's actor, and he was good off camera too to talk to.
I could only imagine. I mean, this scene also where he's going through the deepest of the conspiratorial.
Yeah, he walks us through it.
In a very cogent way, where it's something that would be very, if there was on a wall, thered be a lot of strings attached to different pins and photographs on the wall.
And it was a combination of Oliver flexing and then having an actor like Donald that could have command of his craft. So we've lost a true actor and an actor's actor.
What was the scene that got cut?
It was on that bench. It was on that bench again. It was just really, Oliver dug deep. He went really deep, and it was just more stuff that started to make sense to me for the movie. And I'm a longer is better guy. So I'm saying, no, this actually helped me understand even more, because no, we'll get by with just where, Donald was, and that's how it played out.
A few minutes left here with Kevin Costner on the Rich Eisen Show. You and I have spoken about this, away from the lights and whatever. But I do want to tell you here, like, I'm one of those folks who's kind of gutted that you're not going to be in Yellowstone anymore.
Yeah,
Kevin.
I loved making that thing, and when it came to me, it wasn't on the radar of anyone. I recognized what I thought was great writing, what it could be. And I believed so much in it that I wanted to take people on that ride, and I went over and sold it overseas. And I think, a belief, stood behind Taylor's good writing. And so I think I tried to prop it up that way and did. And one season turned into 5. And then I wanted to work obviously more than once a year. And I kept kept Yellowstone in first position, but it needed to stay on course. It needed to have an exact amount of time so that I could go ahead and do other things. And those things had to be firm in order for me to effectively do something like Horizon, where I have 200 or 300 people waiting for me, and I can't allow myself to not live with the contracts that I made to those people. So the idea that I just wanted to do more than one thing a year, and 5 years later, I realized I just have to stop to make sure that can happen.
So I saw the video that you placed out there on social media late last week.
Yeah.
Just essentially, I guess, confirming.
It wasn't.
Everything?
No, I just decided that because I was in this midst of doing press for Horizon.
Yes.
What are you going to do? And I'm saying I like this thing. I would like to continue, but because there didn't seem to be anything really in motion, I just thought, well, let's take away the mystery. I mean, this is not going to happen. And so until something's really clear to me, I just decided for people that have followed the kind of movies I want to be a part of, I was going to let them know, no, I'm not doing this. In this way, it's not going to happen.
And so you won't appear at all in the upcoming season?
No, I'm not in any of those.
Do you know what's happened to your character?
No, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in that mix.
You're in the mix of Horizon right now.
Yeah.
That is for...
I'm like, that pool where you can, on your tiptoes to get the breath. That's what I'm doing. I'm just figuring out how to make 3. I'm going west myself. I'm like, I've burnt my ships. I'm just there. I've made a promise to myself that I'm going to make these, that I'm making them for an audience. And when I'm done, I'm going to feel like, okay, that was what I was supposed to do. And they live forever. Good or bad, they live forever.
Well, this is beautiful, man. Again, everyone should see Horizon as soon as you can and see it on a big screen as well. This coming Friday is Chapter 1. Chapter 2 is later this summer on August 16th. And then Chapter 3 is currently in principal shooting.
Yeah, I'm making it right now.
You're making it right now. It is just an incredible film about so many people, and it's the number of characters and storylines that you have, it is remarkable.
It all starts to push together. It's like that first 100 page of a novel, and all of a sudden you go, and then it clicks, and then and that's what happens when two. And with two, it just, there's no magic pill. The West was hard, and it gets harder for these people.
And it's like I said, it is amazing. And before I let you go, the number of times on a draft weekend that I will have people, as I'm settling into the NFL draft host chair, a meme, a video, or something from draft day. Right. I have lost track. The whole, Vontae Mack, no matter what, I will get something like that. Somebody will just fill in a line of a current draft choice that their team should take that.
Pancake eating what?
It is. What? I think it's reaching the status of every other sports movie that you've done, Kevin. There's no doubt about that.
There's a chance when you make a movie that they can live forever. And there's a chance when you make a movie, and it doesn't always happen, when there become moments, things said that you'll never, ever forget. And that's what movies need to be about.
Yeah, absolutely. And the number of those people will say that a general manager, if they passed up the star quarterback for a linebacker, would get his ass fired. I've lost track of that as well.
Yeah, but sports is so great. It's so cruel. It's so everything. Winning and losing, I just like sports is everything, and it's also cruel.
Exactly, and you also want to know how everything works out. Where's Crash Davis now, if you could guess?
Where's he at?
Yeah, right now.
He's lobbying for a job somewhere. What? You're right.
Would you be a coach somewhere? Is that what you're saying? Or
yeah, he must be. The
if you could create Crash Davis's 2024 narrative, what is that, Kevin? What do you think?
Well, you'd have to stick with Sue. A girl like that, you gotta make the whole ride with.
So he's
and
with
so
her.
They were together.
Okay.
And Sue's probably continued to educate Crash. They're somewhere.
Somewhere he's trying to get back in baseball somewhere.
I think so.
I love it. Write that down. You writing that down, Chris? Write it down for the next time Ron comes in here.
I remember one thing. Minor league Grady Richardson was when in Bull Durham, and you're a baseball man. You just know it when you're around them, and baseball is tiresome. It's boring. It's tedious. Especially in minor leagues and whatever. And he's coaching, and there's, like I said, the ballparks are really, really big. And he was telling me this story that the team was playing or whatever, and he said this one guy just bombed this ball over the center field fence, and I said, all right, a home run over there. He goes, yeah, when the game's over, I went out there and I paced it off. It was like a 500-foot shot, and I thought, baseball man, minor league, a guy hits a ball, everybody's gone home, but he was just somehow so impressed with it, he had to go walk it off.
Why not?
He walked it off, and you go, that's what's inside our sport. There's this love affair with acknowledging something.
Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1, again in theaters nationwide this Friday. Go see it. You will not be disappointed. It is putting you on the edge of your seat for 3 hours. Great to see you, Kevin Costner.
Thank you.
Good to see you. The one and only Kevin Costner here on The Rich Eisen Show. We're back with more in a moment. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.